So if we will welcome Dr. Brown.
Thank you very much, Ann. I'd like to welcome everyone that's here. After that introduction, it's kind of difficult for me to even speak. I'm really flattered. Reminds me of the time that I spoke in front of a group of farmers out in Iowa. There were so many farmers there that, the hills were just covered with them. And the individual that introduced me says, "This is Dr. Brown, and he's one of the best speakers that you could find in the city. But if you want to go out to the country, you can find a lot better than him." So today, I had started to, the topic of the lecture is nutrition and the art of manual lymph drainage. I'm a nutritionist. I'll give you a little insight to my background. I studied at Antioch University in Yellow Springs, Ohio, where I received a baccalaureate. I studied at Donsbaugh University in Huntington Beach, California. I actually studied with Dr. Donsbaugh and Betty Lee Morales, Hans Kugler, and many other healthcare professionals and doctors that were a cadre of new wave, innovative healthcare practitioners at that time. Dr. Harold Mendelsohn was also there. After completing my doctoral program at Donsbaugh and feeling that I needed even more in order to effectively help my clients in a scientific way, I attended the International College of Healthology, where I studied a technique of urine and saliva testing in order to determine precise nutrient assimilation. Through this procedure, which was developed at the University of Heidelberg in Germany in 1954 and further refined by Dr. Kerry Reams, this technique was handed to Dr. Robert Preston, who founded the School of International College of Healthology in Ventura, and I have mastered that technique. It allows me to counsel my clients effectively and precisely relative to their exact nutrient uptake. At the International College of Healthology is where I met my first teacher of lymphology, Dr. Anita Childs. Dr. Childs had studied with the originator of the art, Dr. Emil Vada. It's spelled V-O-O-D-E-R, but the Germans pronounce it with an F. So I call him Dr. Vada as well, out of respect to the great work that he's brought to the world. After studying with Dr. Childs, I also have studied with Hildegard Whitlinger, who is the founder of the School of Manual Lymph Drainage after Dr. Vada's technique in Walsee, Austria. Since completing these courses, I practiced as a nutritionist both in California, Santa Monica, in Parma, and I've established my practice in Cleveland Heights. Now, relative to manual lymph drainage, I am a lymphologist because I am a nutritionist. And the lymphatic system is fundamental to nutrition. Fundamental. My program is called Holistic Nutritional Therapy. It is a new direction in healthcare in America. Now, perhaps the reason that health in America, relative to American people, has continued to degenerate year after year is the reason that the emphasis is on sickness rather than on health. Oftentimes, we are treated when we are ill as a gallbladder or a heart or a kidney, and not as a whole person. It has been my endeavor to treat my clients in a holistic manner, which includes mind, body, and spirit. Now, I really think that the answer is not to concentrate on the negative aspects of disease, but to concentrate on the positive aspects of building one's health. building one's health till it is radiant and vibrant. Incidentally, MDs defined health as the absence of symptoms. Now clearly you may not have symptoms that are definable as a characteristic set of symptoms that can be identified as a disease and still not feel at your optimal level. Nutrition is designed to feed the cellular environment. Holistic nutritional therapy is the science of health enhancement by applied nutrition. It involves the field of nutritional deficiency and the specific reactions due to the lack of precise food factors. Now, an essential food is a substance that is necessary for life and health, and without such substances, a specialized starvation takes place. It occurs in some way that is directly relative to deficiency of nutrients. Cancer, for instance, can only be caused in laboratory animals after they have been fed processed and refined foods. And what happens relative to the results of a dietary program that includes processed and refined foods is heart failure, because of certain vitamins are eliminated from the diet. Oftentimes I talk to clients and counsel them relative to fast foods and processed foods, and they tell me about their grandmothers who could eat anything and have made it to 90 years old. You will find that most of those people were born prior to the Second World War, because during the Second World War, shortly thereafter, foods began to be processed, and it was the first time that the B vitamin complex was stripped from our foods because of the processing foods. Now, practically all congenital deformities known to man can be created by subjecting the prospective mother to specific food deficiencies that you may find in any of the processed foods. In contrast, no disease can be developed from nutritional deficiencies of non-essential foods. Now, what are these non-essential foods? Refined carbohydrates, sugar, candy, white flour, dextrose, all synthetic fats, oleo, so-called vegetable shortenings, fall into the non-essential food category. It is my firm opinion that the cholesterol scare is a result of the edible oils industry, because when you reduce your cholesterol intake, your body will increase it until it reaches a level that the fat-soluble vitamins may be carried effectively in the lipids. And the third category would be cooking and pasteurization of foods. When we look at pasteurized milk, for an example, the test of pasteurization is called the phosphatase test. Phosphatase is an enzyme that's naturally occurring in milk that, when pasteurized, inhibits the human ability to pick up calcium. So in short, by pasteurizing the milk, you inhibit the main thing that we tend to think that that product is for. These non-essential foods, really illegal counterfeits, should be referred to as supplemental foods because they're not necessary. And if you were to eliminate them from your diet, it would be a distinct benefit. Now let us look at some of the essential foods. Vitamin A, fish liver oil, vegetables, and carrots, essential for the body's growth and proper function of the retina. Vitamin B1, found in wheat germ, lean meat, essential factor in carbohydrate metabolism. Riboflavin, important for the normal growth of the skin and nails. Pyridoxine, vitamin B6, essential for healthy skin and proper growth in children. Niacin, commonly called vitamin B3, is essential for healthy. It is the anti-pellagra vitamin. It's essential for healthy mucous membranes. Now, biotin, according to this chart, its daily needs are unknown, and what it does for you supposedly is uncertain. However, biotin is essential for carbohydrate metabolism. It is what we use, and the body uses that particular coenzyme factor to break down the foods into the ATP chain for energy release. Pantothenic acid, another essential B vitamin. According to this chart, again, they have uncertain. I can tell you an interesting experiment with pantothenic acid. They took two groups of rats. One generation was in the neighborhood of 80 years old. The other were very young rats in the neighborhood of what would be equivalent to human terms of about 20 years old. They fed the 80-year-old rats pantothenic acid, and they put the young rats and the old rats in a bucket of water and allowed them to swim to see who could swim the longest. Well, the old rats, using the pantothenic acid, outswam the young rats by a factor of 10 times. Pantothenic acid is a very essential food factor. Cyanocobalamin, vitamin B12. It's found in liver, whole wheat, germ. It's essential for healthy blood and known as the anti-pernicious anemia vitamin. It is actually synthesized in the colon. The importance of that is when individuals, because of improper diet, are constipated, it inhibits the production of the natural B vitamins, vitamin B12 being one of them, in the colon. And as a result, fatigue and toxicity takes over. Vitamin D. It regulates calcium and phosphorus in the body. And of course, the tocopherols, or vitamin E, essential for the maintenance of blood and therefore helps to heal wounds. The principal minerals: calcium. And interestingly enough, this chart starts out with milk and cheese and ends up with parsley and watercress for calcium. Now, cows don't drink milk. Where do they get their calcium from? Elephants don't drink milk, and they have very large bones. Where do they get their calcium from? It is interesting that some of the strongest and most powerful mammals on the planet don't drink milk. They're vegetarian. And it's also interesting that the individuals or the animals that eat meat have very short colons. And the animals that eat vegetables have very long colons, very similar to human beings. Cobalt is another essential mineral. Combined with the intrinsic factor, helps to create vitamin B12 in the system. Copper, found in liver and kidney and egg yolk. It is concerned with several enzymes, and also the combination of copper and iron help to transport hemoglobin or oxygen in the hemoglobin. Fluorine, and they have here drinking water, which I certainly have some qualms about that. I think that we get too much fluorine. When you have fluorine in your water, in your toothpaste, in your mouthwash, you're getting more than what you really need, more than what your body can handle. Characteristically, the body handles vitamins and amino acids in groups, in complexes, minerals in groups, in complexes. And any one mineral, any one amino acid, any one vitamin that is taken out of proportion tends to put all the other minerals and vitamins out of proportion, and therefore brings the body out of balance. The object of healthcare practitioners should be to bring the body into homeostasis, or into balance. Magnesium, found in green salad vegetables, is concerned with the strength of the whalebones of the teeth and the nerves. Manganese, which is far more important for women than it is for men, is found in liver, kidney beans, cereals, and it's an activator of any number of enzyme systems. A deficiency in animals produces poor growth and reproduction and occasional anemia. Phosphorus, found in milk and cheese, help makes the bones and teeth strong. Potassium, found in dried apricots and currants and dates and figs, works with sodium to maintain the correct fluid balance. Now, as we talk further relative to manual lymph drainage, it will become far more clear why the correct fluid balance is very important. Now, the essential nutrients specific to individual glands and organs for the maintenance and the enhancement of health would be as follows. The brain, raw glandular concentrate. The pituitary, raw glandular concentrate. Now, when I speak about raw glandular concentrate, I'm speaking about what's called a nucleoprotein. This procedure was devised in Europe based on cellular therapy. Cellular therapy is still illegal in this country and not accepted. However, Dr. Hans Kugler, who has been a pioneer of cellular therapy, has treated Down syndrome children from approximately 6 months old and reversed the process of Down syndrome utilizing cellular therapy. Raw glandular concentrates are an innovative approach to cellular therapy in that they're not injections. However, you can take the tablets. And the basis is that like attracts like. So if you have concentrates, raw glandular concentrates from the spleen, the thymus, the brain, ovarian substance, these concentrates carry RNA and DNA, and they help our organs replicate more effectively. As we get older, there is a breakdown in the transfer between RNA and DNA. And these glandular concentrates help the body to replicate the cells and those particular organs more effectively as it did when you were younger. Now, the eyes, vitamin A, D, and vitamin B2. The thyroid, iodine, liquid kelp, and raw glandular concentrate. The thymus gland, which is an important lymphatic organ. Vitamin C, vitamin A, pantothenic acid, and raw glandular concentrate. The heart, potassium, magnesium aspartate, vitamin E with mixed tocopherols. It is important that we stress the fact that vitamin E should be a complex of mixed tocopherols. Vitamin E is an 8-pronged complex. There are 4 tocopherols and 4 tocoinerols. They are designated as alpha, beta, delta, and gamma. It is the delta and gamma aspects of the tocopherols that are quite important relative to heart disease. This work was originally done by Professor Schutt at McGill University in Montreal, Canada. The liver, vitamin B6, magnesium, calcium, desiccated liver, vitamin C, and raw glandular concentrate. The gallbladder, lecithin, choline, biotin, and methionine, the lipotropics. The pancreas, raw glandular concentrate, zinc orotate, and pancreatic enzymes. It is interesting now that the calciums and the zincs are being bound to orotate radicals rather than gluconates or carbonates, because calcium gluconates and calcium carbonates tend to constipate you. Whereas the orotate radical is broken down in the Krebs cycle and it deposits the mineral directly inside the cell. And the adrenals, raw glandular concentrate, pantothenic acid, vitamin C, and vitamin D complex. For female ovaries, raw glandular concentrate, manganese, and essential oils. The essential oils are a combination of soy, rice bran, and wheat germ oils with vitamin E. Zinc, vitamin E, and the female corrective herbs, sunshine, red raspberry leaves, black cohosh root, blessed thistle, capsicum root, ginger root, queen of the metal herb, marshmallow herb, and golden seal root. Mind you, golden seal root is a very powerful detoxificant and should be buffered with other herbs such as licorice or myrrh. Female uterus, raw glandular concentrate, essential oils, manganese, zinc and vitamin E. The male testes, zinc, essential oils, vitamin E, selenium and chromium, and vitamin B6. The male prostate, raw glandular concentrate, zinc, essential oils, and vitamin E. These are essential food factors. Diseases and conditions that can be prevented by nutrition are as follows: health problem, cardiovascular system, potential savings, 25% reduction merely by proper nutrition. Respiratory disease, 20% fewer incidences. Mental health, 10% fewer disabilities. Infant mortality, 50% fewer deaths. Early aging and lifespan, 10 million people without impairments. Arthritis, 8 million people relieved of afflictions. Dental health, 50% reduction of problems merely by correct nutrition. Diabetes, 50% of the cases avoided. Osteoporosis, a 75% reduction through proper nutritional procedures. Obesity, an 80% reduction. Alcoholism, a 33% reduction. Eyesight, a 20% reduction wearing corrective lenses, and I'm working on it. Allergies, 20%. Digestive problems, 25% fewer conditions. Kidney and urinary, 20% reduction. Muscular disorders and cancer, a 20% reduction in the incidence of death. Now, why is it that some seemingly intelligent people continue to commit nutritional suicide? I keep asking myself this question over and over as I explore the mountains of nutritional educational material that is available to the public. The facts regarding how most people can eat better and have better health are available to us all. Yet we either let them go in one ear and out the other, or we feel we're above it, and that poor health habits and poor nutrition will never affect us. How wrong we are. It's very little that most Americans know about nutrition. And I hope this talk will serve as an initial eye-opener. Hopefully, that it will stimulate you to get in-depth knowledge about nutrition. You really should know what's going on regarding the food that you put in the only body that God has given you. And you may not get a second chance. We purchase foods that are grown in depleted nutrient soils, foods that lack the basic nutrition you're buying them to get. We're eating a diet consisting of chemicals and additives, the effect of which is largely unknown. Beef comes from cattle that has hormones in it, and to make them grow faster, and then they put nitrates in it to keep the meat fresh and red. We allow our children to eat sugar-coated cereals for breakfast because we're afraid they won't eat. And the sugar cereals are an easy way out. People in this country drink gallons of caffeine beverages each year to stimulate themselves and then take sleeping pills to go to sleep. We are a nation of people who have forgotten how to eat correctly. We rely too much on convenience foods and fast food restaurants instead of taking the extra 20 minutes to prepare a well-balanced nutritional meal. Remember that you and you alone are responsible for your health. Now, when I speak of nutrition, I define nutrition as follows. Nutrition must include all of the factors which for any reason change the nutrition of the cell through the body process. It is the process of supplying the body's cells with the substances required for their normal function and the body's action upon these substances. Thus, food, air, water, environmental conditions, and whatever else is necessary for the nourishment, growth, and maintenance of the cell need to be considered not only in relation to what is supplied, but also as how they are acted upon by the body. Nutrition must include all of the things which influence the environmental changes of the cell. It must be considered from a biochemical viewpoint and a functional and physiological point of view as well. And we may see that we need many ways of finding the right remedies, may they be physical, chemical, or psychic. Manual lymph drainage is a nutritional approach which encompasses all three aspects. Manual lymph drainage is the most revolutionary therapeutic healing system to be rediscovered in the modern world. The lymphatic system in past years has been the stepchild of the medical profession. But in recent years, it is finding its place among a very viable therapeutic modality. I quote the work of Professor Cecil Drinker from a research work by Alexis Carrel. The lymphatic system is the most important organic system of human and animal life. Therefore, we are now obliged to consider this system as one of the most important therapeutic factors. The designation lymph was Bartholin's designation in approximately 1652, and it covers nutritive liquid on its way to the cell. Interstitial lymph, as well as the fluids within the billions of cells, the cytoplasm, within each and every cell in the body. How significant that really is the fact that through this technique, we affect an individual on the cellular level. Very similar to looking at a stagnant pool of water, which will not support life, and changing that stagnant pool into a flowing river that will support life, that is full of life and oxygen. As a matter of fact, through this technique, we pump approximately 40 to 50 liters of fluid through the body in about a 60-minute period of time. All biochemical processes are only possible when lymph flows. The faster the current of the lymph flow, the quicker the detoxification, the quicker the metabolism is improved, and the betterment for life's processes. Many difficulties for older people and young people too could be avoided if it were understood that the lymphatic system is an all-penetrating, cleansing as well as regenerating system. The joints will keep their suppleness when regulating the synovial fluid through lymphatic drainage, because this process immediately starts the production of protective interferon. It's also interesting to note that medical doctors have just announced that interferon is a cure for hairy cell leukemia. Interferon is one of the major neurohormones that's produced via manual lymph drainage. Every treatment is thus augmenting the body's own immunological forces. Your immune system, I'm sure most of you know, is what protects you. Without the immunological responses, we would die. As a matter of fact, most death, other than physical injury, is related to immune deficiencies. Your immune system is what protects you from the enemies around you, within and without, viruses, cancer, and bacteria. As we age, our immune system starts to deteriorate. And it's through the wonderful technique that Dr. Vada has brought to the world that allows us to re-stimulate our immunological processes in a very gentle and effective method. Now, the immune system is made up of the thymus gland, several types of white blood cells, and other substances which are still being discovered. Serotonin is one of the substances that is a neurohormone that's released via manual lymph drainage, as well as interferon. Now, the thymus gland is very important. It's one of the major lymphatic glands. It starts to atrophy approximately shortly after puberty, but it doesn't atrophy completely. And it is responsible for coating the lymphocytes as to T cells, which actually attack viruses and bacteria and remove them from the body. Now, when the thymus gland is not functioning correctly, you can have circumstances such as osteoporosis, rheumatoid arthritis, and other kinds of autoimmune diseases. You see, the T cells use free radicals to attack viruses and bacteria and help remove them from the system. Oftentimes, these free radicals, due to improper thymus gland coating, will attack the synovial fluids themselves and the joint membranes, and you have arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease. Nutrients and modalities which improve the immune system's functioning can often provide dramatic relief of arthritic symptoms by improving the ability of the T cells to differentiate between self and other. As we grow older, we become less and less able to handle disease, and this technique is a quick and viable method to strengthen our ability to survive in the environment, in the modern environment in which we live. Now, what are the parts of the immune system? It consists of about 1 trillion lymphocytes and 100 million trillion antibody molecules. Now, these antibody molecules are produced via the lymphatic nodes. There are approximately 400 to 600 lymphatic nodes in the body, and they are the germinal centers. They help to produce what's called mother cells. When we are exposed to a virus or an antigen, we have a cell that is produced as an antibody that has memory. And from that point on, every time that particular antigen comes back into our system, the immune system is mobilized to remove that virus or bacteria. Now, these memory cells can last for up to 1 year. And when they die, they give off the memory to their what's called daughter cells. Now, it's interesting that by doing manual lymph drainage, you stimulate the production of not only the memory cells and the T cells, but other immune response cells that can stay with you up to 1 year, and then, and even beyond. There was an experiment run in Europe where they took live cells and put them in test tubes and continued to keep the flow of the environmental part of the cell moving. Theoretically, under those circumstances, the cell could last forever. But when the fluid of the cellular environment no longer moves, the cell dies. Some water right here, I'm hoping. Now, the significance of that is that precisely the experiment I described is what happens with manual lymph drainage. You move the fluid in the cellular environment. You move the fluid in the cellular environment. And as a result, you prolong the existence of your cellular structure and therefore of your life. There was another experiment run in Europe where a scientist cut off all of the lymphatic vessels going to an organ. But he left the arterial input and the venous output. The organ became rapidly necrotic. Even though it had ample blood flow, and even though the blood went in and went out, the organ itself still became necrotic because it had no lymph drainage. The latest research has certainly proven the efficacy of manual lymph drainage. Many diseases are a result of cellular malnutrition. Hence, the interrelationship between nutrition and manual lymph drainage. Lymph drainage is a nutritional therapy because it provides nutrition directly at the cellular level. And cells build healthy tissues, and healthy tissues, healthy organs, and healthy body systems. Now, manual lymph drainage is administered by experts because it is a very specialized form of body work. The pressure must remain between 15 and 30 torr. It does not deal with muscles, bones, or ligaments, but merely the superficial subcutaneous fascia. According to Dr. Arthur C. Guyton's textbook on medical physiology, the removal of proteins from the interstitial spaces by the lymph system is an absolutely essential function, without which we would die in approximately 24 hours. Now, manual lymph drainage is the only hands-on technique on the planet that can actually change the molecular structure of the internal contents of your body. You can massage an individual and increase the rate of blood flow, but you can't change the molecular contents of the blood. However, with manual lymph drainage, you can change the molecular contents of the interstitium. Now, the significance of that is that viruses and bacteria are stored in the interstitium. The interstitium, or the transit stretch, is that area that exists between the capillary level where the blood gives off the nutrients and the cellular level. In short, the interstitium is the cellular environment. And when toxins and viruses and bacteria are stored there, without the effect of manual lymph drainage, without the effect of the lymph flow, these become toxic, and of course cells that are exposed to toxicities become malignant. Now, the interstitium moves between a gelatinous state and a liquid state, similar to the way ice goes to water. That is indeed a molecular change. If we were to take a bowl and put milk and flour and eggs with the appropriate energy, by mixing them with the appropriate energy. If we mix it too fast, it all flies out everywhere. If we mix it too slow, it takes forever for it to ever happen. But with the appropriate energy, we will change the molecular structure of the eggs and the milk and the flour, and we will get a product, dough, which can never again be separated back into eggs and milk and flour. In the same manner, manual lymph drainage changes the gelatinous state of the interstitium into a liquid state, allowing it to release the toxins and bacteria and viruses and flush them out of the system through the normal organs of elimination. According to Dr. Gerald L. Lamole, chief of the Department of Thoracic and Cardiovascular Surgery at Deborah Heart and Lung Institute, Brown Mills, New Jersey, the lymphatic system is not studied very much. Most medical texts devote only 1 or 2 paragraphs to it. However, we do know that it has 3 very important functions: to return proteins to the blood, to remove toxins and foreign particles. We are taught that the liver and the kidneys carry away toxins, but it is actually the lymphatics that carry away the fluid that bathes each cell. So detoxification starts on the cellular level with the lymphatic system and then moves to the kidneys and the liver for detoxification. And of course, lymphatics is an integral part of our immune system. According to Dr. Pascal M. Spagna, Chief of Cardiac Surgery at the Graduate Hospital, University of Pennsylvania, states that lymphostasis or lymph stagnation is a critical factor in heart disease. The cardiac lymphatics are responsible for carrying away cholesterol from the intercellular spaces. If the lymphatics are blocked, the cells can't go anywhere, and it stays in the walls of the arteries too long, contributing to hardening of the arteries. This idea is consistent with the fact that 90% of the cases of coronary hardening of the artery, post-mortem examinations, show scarring, inflammation, and blockage of the lymphatics. In addition to heart disease, lymphostasis may be a contributing cause of cancer because when the lymphatics are blocked, toxic molecules cannot be moved away from body cells, and constant exposure to toxin, as I've said earlier, may be a cause for malignancy. The main purpose of manual lymph drainage is to accelerate the movement of the lymph flow by partially emptying the tissues, an action not unlike clearing a stagnant pool. But just as important is the regenerating power of the drainage movements themselves, an effect not to be found in the hard and unelastic massage techniques. Now, I'm sure many of you who are massotherapists or are familiar with body work have heard that all massage promotes lymph drainage. Dr. Vada says that hard massage does not promote lymph drainage. Is one right and another wrong? Could they both be right? Well, let's look at that. When we do massage, say Swedish massage or massage that stimulates the blood flow, it increases the filtrate, or the blood flowing through the veins and arteries because of the blood pressure. And because the arteries are porous, increases the filtrate going into the tissues. And when the filtration goes up, if we could imagine a bathtub with a water faucet on and a drain going out. And as this bathtub fills up, as we increase the amount of water coming in, we can imagine that water coming in as the arterial system and the stimulation of the blood flow through massage. The overflow valve on that tub would then be your lymphatic system. And as the filtrate increases and the bathtub fills up beyond what the drain itself, which would be the venous system, can remove, then it is the lymphatic system that catches the overflow. Now, how is this relative to lymph drainage? Manual lymph drainage, as taught by Dr. Vada, does not stimulate the blood, but only stimulates the reabsorption systems. That is the systems of the venous system and the lymphatic system, but not the blood system. The difference is quite significant because rather than reaching the kind of balance that Starling spoke about in his hypothesis, and I will digress for a minute to explain Starling's hypothesis, had to do with a balance of homeostatic pressure in the venous and arterial system. And for many years this included the lymphatic system. However, recent research has shown that in the lymphatic system, oftentimes, the pressure is a negative pressure. And in order to have perfect equilibrium, you would have to have a positive pressure. Now we can understand why when the reabsorption systems are activated and the interstitium changes from a gelatinous state to a liquid state, fluids and toxins can be removed from the system without increasing the filtrate. So when we say that all massage promotes manual lymph drainage, yes, it does. In the way that when the bathtub fills up, the overflow valve catches the excess. Whereas manual lymph drainage does not stimulate the blood.
I'm sorry.
It's quite all right. I'll make an appointment with you for a lymphatic right after the talk. I'm sure it'll help. Manual lymph drainage does not stimulate the blood flow, but merely the reabsorption parts of the body. And therein lies the difference. A difference in understanding of the system and a difference in approach. Now, the renewing of tissue lymph makes possible the inflow of daily nutritional requirements and the building material for regeneration and growth. Thus, lymph drainage therapy supports the natural impulse of the body to purify and to rebuild. Now, manual lymph drainage is not exactly a household word, so I'm very, very pleased to see so many people here today. To some, the name alone conjures up images of a mysterious and possibly dangerous extraction of sacred body fluids, which might be better left alone. But for an increasing number of people suffering from chronic health conditions who have not found relief through the traditional drug therapies, manual lymph drainage has ended their frustrations. The gentle massage technique is an effective alternative in treating problems ranging from acne to post-mastectomy lymphedema. Now, manual lymph drainage was discovered, as I said, in 1932 by Dr. Emil Vada, who is a PhD in philosophy, while he and his wife Estrid were working as masseuses on the French Riviera. The Danish couple noticed that their clients, who were primarily people from England, all had swollen lymph nodes. And at that time, to touch a lymph node medically was taboo. But Dr. Vada found that by manually and precisely manipulating these lymph nodes in a gentle and circular motion, that the congestion went away and the toxins were released. Cold symptoms and swelling vanished. Even though treating the lymphatic system, as I said, was developed by Dr. Vada, it has taken 40 years for him to perfect and expand his technique. In 1972, the Vada School was established in Walsee, Austria, by Gunther and Hildegard Whitlinger, who are authorized by Dr. Vada to teach the method. Physicians, massage therapists, and estheticians come from all over the world to study at the clinic in Walsee. The repetitive and soothing movements of the lymph drainage technique trigger the body's parasympathetic nervous system, causing a deep state of relaxation. When this happens, stress is reduced, which allows the body's healing mechanism to work at its maximum. Now, manual lymph drainage is not an elixir for everything. Using arthritis, for an example, manual lymph drainage will temporarily allow more mobility in a joint, but will not cure the condition. I have been practicing manual lymph drainage since 1982. I will not conduct it on anyone who has active cancer, major heart trouble, thrombosis, phlebitis, or any blood clotting condition. The number of treatments vary with the circumstances. In the case of acne, 5 to 10 treatments with proper diet may be enough to clear the circumstances up completely. Lymphedemas, however, require more time and commitment. Lymphedema is a chronic collection of fluid in one area, sometimes occurs for keeping connective tissue free of irritants, such as excess water, bacteria, viruses, and inorganic matter, like dust and things of that nature. Interestingly enough, speaking about dust, coal miners tend to die of pneumonia because the pulmonary lymphatics become blocked with coal dust, which cannot be removed from the system. It is a permanent condition. Now, lymph, which is a clear fluid, carries these toxins through the lymph vessels along the body's 600 lymph nodes, which act as purifying stations, drawing out and destroying foreign substances. The purified lymph then rejoins the blood circulatory system at 2 points just below the collarbone. Excess water is eliminated through the kidneys. The specific pumping action of manual lymph drainage causes tiny lymph capillaries to open and close, siphoning impurities away from the surrounding tissue into the lymph vessels. A healthy lymphatic system does this automatically. But for those who have damaged lymph vessels due to injury, surgery, inflammation, or congenital defect, manual lymph drainage lends a helping hand by speeding up waste disposal, allowing healthy tissue fluids to move into the area and promote healing. Manual lymph drainage is totally consistent with the way the body's physiology works. It will help alleviate symptoms, if not correct certain conditions completely. It helps to strengthen the immune system and combat such conditions as allergies, bronchitis, sinusitis. It is a natural process. And speaking about nature's laws, Horace once said, "You may drive nature out, yet she will ever hurry back to triumph over your foolish contempt." The ancients, as well as the present-day philosophers, are well aware of the inexorable force that nature is and exerts upon us. We suffer greatly by tampering with her laws, and we benefit just as greatly by working with these laws. Perhaps in no other field is this more dramatically brought to our attention than in nutrition. The body breaks down from ignorance, deliberate transgression, or circumstantial inability to meet its nutritional needs. Just as definitive health process is brought about by supplying the body with proper nutrients needed for the process of metabolism. In the quest for the achievement of radiant and vibrant health, the time has come for the nutritional approach to health to be first. Through aiding the body in strengthening its own immunological defenses, both for prevention and for treatment. I have tried to tailor my talk tonight after women's fashions, long enough to cover everything, but short enough to be interesting. I certainly hope I've succeeded on both accounts. The floor is now open for questions. Yes, ma'am.
My husband has 10% blockage of the heart. He's just on medication, doesn't have to have open heart surgery or anything like that. And he was taking products that I'd given him on whether he wanted to get a flying license, so he goes to his doctor. He says no diet pills, no vitamins, because he creates a now he won't take anything other than the silvertrate and the other medication that he's on. So would this type of treatment help him?
Manual lymph drainage is counterindicated relative to cardiac edemas. It is unfortunate that because an individual, primarily MDs, who are not trained in nutrition, would restrict individuals for seeking other alternatives to help them. There are certain nutrients that would probably help your husband far more and with a lot less risk than drugs or manual lymph drainage. I think that's about all I can really say about that.
Well, he started to tell us what the things I was giving was draining some of that out, and the Maxepa, which is supposed to help the cholesterol, he won't take anything now, so.
Well, that's unfortunate. You can give him my brochure. If he talks to me, perhaps I might be able to convince him of the efficacy of nutritional therapy. Yes, ma'am.
How do you feel about microwaving?
You're going to have to explain that one to me.
That's where they're irradiating the vegetables and fruit.
I think it's horrible. I think it's the worst thing that could ever be done. I think it is a conspiracy. I think that when people started to move towards raw foods and fresh foods, they said, all right, we're going to make sure that you come back to the doctors, we're going to put radiation in. I think that's the worst thing that could have ever happened.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can you show us an example of lymphatic drainage, like maybe on your assistant's arm or something? I have no concept of.
I can't do that. And the reason why is because when you see manual lymph drainage, it is such a gentle and effortless and subtle technique that you don't get it. You literally don't get it.
I see that's different from what I've heard other people who said they've gotten lymphatic massage or whatever you want to call it, and said that it's extremely painful.
Well, what is called lymphatic massage by... Oh, the question was, could I demonstrate manual lymph drainage? And if I couldn't, why not? And furthermore, that when I stated that manual lymph drainage was a gentle and effortless technique, she stated that she's heard from other individuals that it is a hard technique and that it hurts.
I can vouch for that.
Well, well, here's the difference. D.D. Palmer, who was the father of chiropractic, devised a technique where he stimulates what he calls neurolymphatic points, working towards stimulating the deep lymphatic vesicles. It hurts because you have to dig deep down into a person's body. It is a form of acupressure. Many of the points don't even correspond to lymphatic nodes, but correspond to points in the brain. This is not manual lymph drainage. This is acupressure being called by another name. Manual lymph drainage is such a gentle technique, it's like a dance. When a therapist who's trained in this art touches you, it's like a kiss. Manual lymph drainage does not elicit pain, because when you do therapy and it hurts, it traumatizes the person and pushes them further towards the area of illness. My teacher used to say if you have to hurt somebody to help them, then you might as well not even do it at all. Manual lymph drainage feels good, it does not hurt, and one of the primary requirements is that it does not elicit pain. Is there another question? Yes, ma'am.
Would you comment, please, a little further on the relationship between manual lymph drainage and the endocrine system?
Well, the endocrine system is that system in the body that secretes and regulates hormones. Manual lymph drainage also functions through the endocrine system in that it promotes the secretion of endocrine hormones and therefore helps to regulate the hormonal balance in the body. Now, as simply as I can. Yes. Lady in the back there.
One use cellular therapy on their own, or must it be prescribed by, say, a nutritionist?
I would think that cellular therapy and cellular concentrates, glandular concentrates, should be definitely under the supervision of a professional who's well trained in the field. Absolutely. Because there are counterindications that could occur with each and every individual. The whole thing about vitamins and minerals and the RDAs and things of that nature have to do with, when you look at an RDA, you're looking at one size of shoe for everyone in America. We are all biogenically unique, and therefore this kind of work, supplements and nutritional therapy and glandular therapy, should be under the auspices of an individual professional who will take in account your individual differences and tailor the program specifically for you. Relative to manual lymph drainage?
Along with the cellular therapy, say they were used in conjunction with one another, would you have to see like every month or whatever?
2 to 3 times a week for the manual lymph drainage. The cellular therapy would depend on your reaction to the program. It may be as often as once a week. It may be as little as once every 2 or 3 weeks. But the manual lymph drainage is a technique that should be done consistently and repetitively, because each treatment strengthens the immunological processes. Lady right here, Dr. T.
Hey, you mentioned that the work takes up components that are spiritual,